Hello Bitcoiners, this is quite interesting. This video that is about to play after this little ramble of mine aired in 2008, and we all know what happened in 2008 when it comes to understanding what money is and the start of Bitcoin. And there's a guy called John Harris, and he's been interviewed on a TV show, EMTV, used to air on Sky, and he's part of a movement called the Freeman of the Land movement, and they've been known for some quirky conspiracy theories and stuff like that. And the full interview I'll link, and it does talk about some aspects of his beliefs, but I've cut it up around fiat money. I hope you enjoy it. I found it very fascinating because it came out in 2008, this episode, just as Bitcoin was being discovered and birthed into the world. And they discuss fiat money, they discuss banks, they discuss organizations and centralization of media. And it just goes to show you Bitcoin arrived at the perfect time where there was a true need for it. And I just wish that this guy, had he not committed suicide in 2015, would have been a perfect Bitcoiner in that regard. So anyway, I'm rambling, I'm taking up your finite time, but enjoy.
We're so going to get onto money in a second, but yeah, let's get into it gently.
But he explains it all because of the book entries. Because if they're creating a debt in the first place and giving it to you, you pay it, then that zeroes that debt. That's basic bookkeeping. Anybody knows that. You don't have to be an accountant. You know, you create it, someone pays it, it zeroes the account. But you pay in two different ways. There's different ways of paying, and there's something that came to light was what was called accepted for value, which a lot of people have dissed, and they say, oh, there's all this information in America, it don't work, blah, blah, blah. We're living proof it does work, because we do it. Now, accepted for value, you only do really on, you know, like sort of companies and corporations.
Aren't you getting a bit ahead of yourself? Shouldn't you be explaining what money is before you get to
No, it leads to it. I'll explain what it is.
Excuse me then.
See, when you accept, right, I get a bill from the tax office for 33 grand telling me that I've got to pay them £33,000.
This has actually happened.
I can show you it. That's in my briefcase.
I don't doubt you for a second, John.
I'll show you.
I'm surprised you walk around with it, though, but, you know.
No, I brought it
just in case.
There's something, yeah, when people, you need to explain things on there.
OK.
Now, they're writing to the capital version, they're writing to the fiction, so they're not writing to me as a
They're writing to you in capital letters?
Yeah, so they're
John James Harris, all caps.
They're presuming I'm a fiction, OK? So it's presumption, it's implied presumption that I'm going to act on behalf of the fiction in their jurisdiction. Right, OK? I'm saying I'm a human being, and I'm not going to act. I'm not going to act on you. So I get this bill comes through, and they say to me, you owe us £33,000 and some pence and other pounds, whatever it is. Right, and it's in a box. I
think, yeah, the £33,000 would probably do it for me, wouldn't it?
Right.
Wouldn't worry about the pennies.
No, but well, it's all imaginary anyway, so yeah, it might as well be 3 pence because they're not getting a penny. The fact of it is, the £33,000 is been generated for nothing. So when it comes to me, I've accepted it has no value whatsoever and sent it back to them. Exactly the same figure. So I write it in the box, 33 whatever is, blah, blah, blah. I'll send it back to them, they can zero out their books.
Well, OK, if only it was so simple, John.
But it is.
Well, you're basically saying you're accepting it for value.
Right. OK. A nice, shiny piece of paper.
Note.
No, piece of paper.
Well, I'm sorry, but that is a £20 note.
Well, that's what you... Yeah,
unless you make it yourself.
Now, you can take this to a shop and you can go and buy it.
That's very kind of you. I'll have it now.
You want it? You can take this to a shop and you buy goods and services for it, so you actually believe it's real.
Yes. I know it does buy me goods and services, or one
very similar. You believe it's real. So, well, what happens is, you'll go, that will get put in that shop, and then that shop will pass it to somewhere else, or a bank, and they'll reissue it, blah, 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 blah. OK. Well, one of the two things there's 3 things on here that are quite interesting. One is it has a mascot on it to make it look official.
A mascot?
Constitutional sovereign.
Well, like football clubs?
Yeah, basically. I'll explain that.
OK.
And it says it's from the Bank of England, which is a private, registered corporation, that no one knows where the profits go. No one knows who the managing director, the directors of, but Might want to ask the boss of Sky a little bit about the Bank of England. But it also says very clearly on it, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £20. OK? So if I take this to the Bank of England and say, right, you've promised me to pay me something here, can I have what you've promised? They'll give me another piece of paper, which is completely worthless.
You know, one of those.
Yeah, exactly.
But they'll take that one, presumably.
Yeah, but what we used to say on it, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of gold, or sterling, silver.
Silver.
Pound sterling, right? £20 sterling, as you would call it. But because our money is fiat currency, it's not backed by anything, there is nothing to back this at all. So in reality, if there's nothing to back this of any value, this is an IOU. It's a promise to pay. That's why it says, I promise. So what happens is, you just say, I'm promising to pay you at some time.
So this is because it's fiat currency,
Yeah, because we're in bankruptcy.
And fiat, if my Latin is still doing any good in there, is, I think the Bible starts with fiat lux, which means let there be light.
I don't know, but I'll take your word on it.
Which is Latin.
Yeah,
and so therefore the fiat part of it must be let there be.
Yeah. All it basically
so let there be money.
All it basically
But there isn't any, is that what you're saying? There is no money.
Basically what the money is, the money in effect is a debt. We're in bankruptcy, so we're in receivership, but we're in Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which still allows us to trade. What we're constantly trying to do is pay back this bankruptcy that can never be done. Because the bankers, the private sector have put so much... The principal and the interest has got to such a rate now that the income tax that you pay, the rates that you pay, the council tax you pay, cannot cover this anymore. So now they have to bring in statutes to sell to the bankers and enforce upon the people.
More taxes, hidden taxes, all these hidden taxes.
Stealth taxes, but it's not. It's not tax. It's basically fraud.
You're saying the debt can never be serviced. There's nothing to back the currency. The currency has nothing behind it. Because Gordon Brown, for instance, sold all our gold at the bottom of the market, didn't he?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, gold's... If you want to go... It depends how you want to go with this. You can go a number of different ways. You know, I mean, if you look at what gold is just a prissy piece of metal. That's all it is. Yeah.
But
not everybody's designed to be woke up to this anyway, because it would cause absolute chaos if it...
What if everybody woke up to this? What if all the national newspapers tomorrow had your story, the guts of this programme on the front page tomorrow?
Absolute carnage.
That the money is worth nothing, and that you can discharge a debt by simply giving them more. If that's a promissory note, which I understand that it is
a promissory note,
then all you do to pay a debt is give them another promissory note.
Absolutely.
So just go, yeah, I accept it, here's my promissory note.
Now but you're going down lines that are very, very complicated. And
it's not that simple,
no,
then. Because I suspected that might be the case.
Because they've signed the system up. It's fantastic how they've done it, actually. You shouldn't admire them for what they've done, but they have created something that is just... It is an amazing entity, what they've created, but it's a fire. If you want to analogise it, you put a fire and it's a fire that's consuming everything. And unfortunately, when a fire consumes everything, the only thing it's got left to consume is itself. And that's what we're seeing happening. Yeah, in this country...
Barristers.
Yeah, basically what you've got is you two-tier everything. You've got a two-tier community, which is the socially dominant, and us, who are fooled by a promise to do the hard work. The only valuable thing in this country is what we do for a living, every single day. Because if we didn't do what we do, this country stops working. And the hierarchy can't afford for that to happen. So they have to fool us into giving us a promise. We'll promise to pay you at some time. So, but it doesn't exist. There's a lot of other things that you can go along in them lines. I don't want to... We haven't got enough time to talk about it. And they are quite complicated, some of them as well. But we've got two-tier everything. Two-tier law, we've got a two-tier community, which is basically one world society, which is what is being created. The socially dominant want to maintain their social dominance. That's basically it. It's not... People say New World Order, blah, blah, blah. It's the socially dominant. They've got everything.
Well, social, the word social, to me, sounds a bit kind of soft and cuddly. You know, you say socially dominant. I mean, you're talking about society, aren't you?
Yeah, but that's the socially dominant members of a community. They're the ones who will do anything to maintain their social dominance. So they're not quite as cuddling as you would like to imagine.
Well, no, I don't particularly imagine that those people who do control the Federal Bank and the Bank of England, indeed they do.
They are the socially dominant. And in a way, everybody, the whole system's been teared down. So anyone, we talked about this, anyone who owns a company, who employs people, who pays them a promise at the end of the week.
With fiat currency, which is just
nothing. What are you maintaining? Your social dominance. It's the truth, though. You're enslaving people.
I'm enslaving people.
Yeah. You're doing exactly the same, but see, because we mimic what's given to us. Everybody mimics the same thing. Mm-hmm. And hopefully, after people hear this information, they'll start to realise that, yeah, this really is what's going on. And then what you do is you take the very simple system that human beings live by, which is in communities, and you put ism on the end of it, and you completely destroy that as well, which is what they did. Everything with an ism. Socialism, capitalism, communism, Marxism, socialism, they're all isms.
Anti-disestablishmentarianism.
It cracks me up. All of it cracks me up because it's just, when you understand what's going on and how simple it is, everything that's complicated in the world has a simple foundation. We have a motto on the site: the truth is simple, mankind makes it complicated. It is absolutely true because it doesn't matter.
That is true, yes.
Yeah, if you take the most complex building, it's still built on a set of foundations.
Well, here's a really good question. Jamie from Norfolk. How can we free ourselves from the stranglehold of central bankers and the current debt-based economy when they own all the mass media weapons?
Well, we've got the internet. It's the most powerful entity in the world and it can't be stopped.
Well, I don't know. They're trying, aren't they?
They can't stop it. It's a living entity in its own. They'll tell you that there's one pipe comes in and it goes to one building in London and they can shut the whole of the internet down. Talk to anybody who understands the internet. That comes in so many different ways, they physically couldn't shut it down. Another thing is they need it more than we do.
Well, another thing is Edge Media TV, Channel 200. Keep watching.
Nice plug. But no, so the internet is mimicking the way that human beings should really communicate. Everything we've got to communicate with nowadays, we think we're so connected as a race, but actually we're more disconnected than we could possibly imagine.
Do you think so?
Yeah, because we've been conditioned. They use dumbing down techniques on us. Look at mainstream media television. I don't want to go into the realms of it, but they call it programming for certain reasons. Watch people go into a trance when they're watching it. Just watch it. Talk to someone. Offer them a cup of tea. Do you want a cup of tea? Huh? What did you say? I was born free.
As free as the wind blows.
Absolutely. I was born free. My freedom does not come from a man. It does not come from a woman. I was born free. And no one has the right to take that away from me. And I'm free because I say I am, and not because the government give me a piece of paper. What happens to me happens because it's meant to happen. If I was meant to have crashed without wearing a seatbelt and gone for a windscreen, then that would have happened, and me putting one on wouldn't have stopped that.
But it's a bit kind of submissive, and you're not that submissive, are you?
Because no, but I'm not submissive. I'm in
but,
partnership.
Yeah,
that's a whole different...
If you're saying that whatever happens, happens, karma, you know, and all that is the will of God, if you like, then you wouldn't have made this declaration to become something different. You know, you're saying that you were sold into slavery inadvertently by your father, registering you at birth, and then subsequently with other things that happened in your life, and that's all karma and fate. You were meant to be a slave.
Absolutely.
But now you're not a slave.
But I need you to be a slave to understand what slavery is.
But you need to go through a windscreen to understand what wearing a seatbelt is.
If that's a lesson that's going to be taught to me, yes.
OK, so you learnt the lesson of slavery.
See, it's all about choice. You're given choice, aren't you? Every single day you can make a decision for yourself. You don't need someone to make it for you. The problem is we're allowing people to make them decisions.
In terms of what, paying tax and...
Well, everything that you do is your own choice. The natural law that we live by, or we should live by, is inherent. It's in us. We don't have to be told it. Just because we choose to ignore it does not give someone the right to say to us that you have to abide by this.
But even if people know what's right and wrong, and I think probably most people do know what's right and wrong.
Of course they do.
But even if they do know what's right and wrong, it doesn't mean they're going to comply with right and wrong, does it?
No, but what actually funds that? What is the power behind it? Why do people do things wrong generally? For what?
Well, for advantage.
And where does advantage come from?
I don't know. Where does it come from?
Greed.
Greed. What if I get sick? I'll need money. What if I do this? I need money. What if, you know, I need money? People don't necessarily have money, surely, for the sake of just having money. I mean, I'm sure there are people who are in that position.
Yeah, but if you're living in a world that revolves on the stuff.
Well, yes, that's
and it's
certainly
fictional.
true.
Well, so you're living in a fictional world.
So
you think all this is it's an illusion, and you just can't even see it.
Well,
the illusion is because you run a company, you have employees. You need your employees to do the work they do, so this show is broadcasted. But to make them do that work that they do, you need to give them to promise to give them something at the end of the week. What they don't realise is they're absolutely getting nothing. They're getting a promise to pay at some time that will never be made.
But if you have a £20 note in your pocket, as you do...
Yeah.
You have it in your pocket so that you can get home, or you can buy food, or you can...
yeah.
And you know that it's worth having, because otherwise you would have left it on the table there where you were showing it to me.
I'll quite happily give you it.
I don't want your £20, but you want to retain it for the things you can buy with it, don't you?
Yeah, and that's what it gives you the belief it's real.
Well, in a sense, it is real.
No, it's
it
not
might
real.
be completely...
It
might be a promissory note based on wishful thinking, and it might be some big, colourful con like the Wizard of Oz behind his curtain. And I'm happy to entertain that idea, and I think probably most people watching this programme are happy to entertain that idea. But, nevertheless, a £20 note is a £20 note, and you can go and spend it, and you can get food or lodging
that's the illusion you live in.
But you can't survive without money, can you?
I do survive pretty much without money. Yeah, it's hard. It's very, very difficult. But I've made a commitment to what I do, and I always said that I would do everything that I possibly can to stop what's going on. I will stop what's going on in some way or fashion. I don't know how it's going to come about. It's coming about soon as well. Things are going to change.
Do you think we're on some kind of cusp moment where...
I don't really want to give sort of any reason. I just feel that there is something emanating at this moment. There is an energy building up that is just phenomenal at this moment, and a lot of people are feeling it. A lot of people, you know, people say, well, I wouldn't like to live in a happy world, and there's not this and there's not that. But you mean, because you'd be bored. Can you name a time in your life where you've actually been truly happy and you've actually boredom's ever entered into you know? It's not something that they don't run together. Things are changing, and they're changing naturally, and they have to be allowed to change naturally.
OK.
There's a very simple thing that's going on that people will not grasp, and it goes into sort of like, I don't know, concepts that people are not ready to accept. But man's control of the earth is being relinquished.
Let me ask you some questions that have come in here. Do you think the current recession has been orchestrated, and if so, by whom and for what? That's Lydia in Cornwall.
Right. The current recession is... people say it's being orchestrated. It's just something that fractional reserve banking will end up doing. It cannot go on. If they set about now, to the end of their lifetimes, they could never create enough paper money to warrant what they say exists. They could never do it. And the more you create... If you create another £20, that makes that £20 worthless. And that's worthless.
Well, that's the hidden tax, isn't it? Inflation. Inflation is the hidden tax.
Exactly, but it's all based on something that doesn't exist in the first place.
OK, here's another good one. This is from Jamie NFLK. Don't know what that means. Oh, Norfolk. Yes, internet allows truth to be shared, but why are the masses not revolting? Why are so many still so ignorant? What needs to happen to reach the masses?
You don't need to reach the masses. There's enough people who already know what they've got to do when they've got to do it. You mean there's a critical mass? No, you don't even need a critical mass. You just need individuals, every walk of life, judges, magistrates, the MPs, people in government, civil servants, they all know that there's something very wrong. They all know there's something very wrong, but they're caught up in this materialistic world. Biggest thing is status. Status. Why do you sit on a chair that's higher than me?
I didn't design the set.
Exactly the same as a judge in a courtroom. He's higher than you. It's intimidation.
Do you think I'm here to intimidate you?
No, not at all. But that's society showing its true colours. That's the persona. I am this person. I will sit higher than you.
Can I sit over here? I'll sit there.
No, seriously. No, but I'm just giving an example of society. This is how status works. Statute comes from the word status. It's the legal position of a person or a thing.
OK.
This is what... It's all about it. What we live in is a society that is just solely dominated by socially dominant people who want to maintain that. They've created an illusional fiction called money to keep us doing what we do every day. The only valuable thing in this country are the people and the work they do. That's all that's valuable.